This time I brought a couple of friends on stage with me who are here to talk to us a little bit about connectivity and immersive use cases and how both are better together. So without further ado, I'll introduce our panelists. We have Alicia Caputo, CEO of Avrio Analytics, Pablo Colapinto, Head of Immersive at Nexus Studios, and Sara Allen, EVP, Brightline Interactive. So thanks for joining me today. So we'll go ahead and just start with an intro here. So for those in the audience who may not be familiar, let's just go down the line and talk a little bit about what each of your companies does and the role you play in the immersive space.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. So my name is Alicia, and we provide immersive training systems for first responders, focusing on the worst case scenario that our responders face, anything from nuclear to hazmat disasters to active shooter. Our augmented reality uses a very powerful AI engine that generates effective, efficient, and connected training. So anything from one participant to hundreds, they're able to generate quantifiably better training.
Cool. Pablo?
I'm Pablo, head of Immersive at Nexus Studios. We're a global creative studio working with directors across animation, stop-action animation, and also real-time animation, artful live action, and immersive spaces in XR. I head up the immersive division where I work primarily with brands and tech partners to push the boundaries of what's possible in entertainment.
Cool. Sara?
Awesome. Yeah, Brightline Interactive is an immersive tech company. We specialize in AR, VR, mixed reality, and do a lot of development with 5G. We work really across industries from sports and entertainment all the way to public sector. With that being said, do all different use cases from things that are fun and connect you closer to the content to things that help with training and simulation. And I think one of our most well-known things we've done is Post with the Pros, which is our patented celebrity AR product. And if you have time, definitely head out to the AT&T portable volumetric capture booth and get yourself captured today. And you'll be seeing that in many of the things we do in the upcoming year.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So we'll go ahead and start with you, Pablo. So we've talked a lot about how a lot of these immersive AR, VR technologies seem far out to a lot of consumers, but they're really here in our lives today. So I want to talk a little bit about the advances that you've seen already today and how that's kind of already having a positive impact on the world.
Totally. I'll reveal a little bit about myself because I'm biased in how I frame this. I was a graduate student in geometry, so I studied n-dimensional geometric algebra, right? So it's relevant because
there we go. I think I see.
Yeah, whew, GA. For me, the way I phrase what's going on is more of a reckoning than a revolution, and in that space itself, the space around you, your local space, the space on the street, this space is finally getting its due. Space is a computer, but it's always been a computer. We have structural brains. We think spatially. We make points. We have things on one hand and on the other hand. The way we rationalize is spatial. So when I say space is a computer, it means that in the context of 5G, obviously, every single nook and cranny, every cubic inch is now been activated. It's like it was latent, but now it's alive, which means that your tabletop has new meaning. You can be in your kitchen, but something can be happening in your living room that is virtual that you're thinking about, and everything, the entire substrate now of the world is now activated with geospatial VPS and all sorts of ways to place content in it. And it can be semantically understood and cloud processed through 5G and then given back to you with a very low latency responsiveness so that you can interact with it in a new form of UX. So the new UX is spatial. The computer is spatial, but it's always been spatial. And but that's exciting. But the more exciting thing, and the thread that we've been hearing here too, is that by putting content in space, by putting characters in space, by putting basketball players in your living room or in your tabletop. What we're doing is, and we saw this at the emotional video that Amy showed at the beginning. We're saying content is in a shared space, right? So content is immediately shared, and for me, the technology is very important in pushing content out of a unilateral experience and making it a shared experience, and being able to point to two things in different. I can point to something in my living room, and you can point to something in your living room. We can be pointing to the same thing and having the same conversation. So it's changing language, it's changing body language, and yeah, that's my pitch on that one.
Well, great. Well, I can hop in there too
Yeah.
after. So we've seen a really big impact on the environment, especially in my industry, because they're banning a lot of real fire training. Burning things can create different chemicals and harm not only the first responders, but our environment. And using new technology, like augmented reality, our training, helps them to still train and still practice without having to endanger themselves or endanger the environment, so that they can still be prepared for real-world events. We also do quite a bit of remote training. And so for that, we need a powerful connectivity to have hundreds of participants on the system at once. Not forcing everybody to travel, to be in one room, one location at one time, instead sending out something as easy as a headset or as easy as a code, so that they can all still benefit from training is incredibly important, that we've seen on my side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this, the spatial that you bring up, and then I think both of you obviously talked about multiplayer and the ability to collaborate, which I think is really one of the most impactful things that I think 5G will really bring into all different industries. But what I get most excited about, and I think will have the greatest impact, is really sort of, this ability. I know you mentioned like safety, right? If we're able to bring solutions out into the world that allow for like training and collaboration that weren't possible before, or allow for them to be done in a way that's much safer and with less risk, I think that's something that we all can get really excited about, because it has a very definitive impact in the world. And you can see that we did an experience recently called Multiverse, where it uses these 360 Nova balls, and basically you're allowed to go 360 in all different directions. So yes, you can go upside down, but it allows you to, for instance, train with a Black Hawk helicopter simultaneously with a truck and other trainees, and allow for a scenario where you can actually learn. If you take those into the real world, the context of those, you really can't fail. You have to be precise, and I think this sort of simulation and training environment will allow for real learning and really sort of pushing it and allowing for safety in ways that we haven't seen before. You'll see that in healthcare coming up for sure as well. Yeah, and it's just going to open a lot, I think, in terms of impact, safety, collaboration that really wasn't possible before. And it's all possible with ultra-low latency that 5G millimeter wave specifically allows for, in a way that, will really revolutionize things. And you'll see a very interesting impact. It's already happening, but it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you set me up well for my next question, Sarah, which is coming your way. So, talking a lot about networks and converged connectivity across 5G and fiber, tell me a little bit more about how 5G and fiber coming together is a great jumping off point for a lot of these new immersive experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think all of us here probably, right? We're all dreaming up things, we're talking about things, and all of those things in the AR, VR space really are reliant on the network and advanced connectivity. So when there's a shift as big as the one from 4G to 5G that we've been able to really be on kind of the front lines and figuring out, there's a lot of testing and prototyping you have to do. So from the early stages in figuring it out, realizing that like in a stadium of like 80,000 people, like AT&T Stadium, being able to have all those user devices working now, not just sending text, but being able to control content on a screen, things like that, sets you up for new possibilities. So once you get those under your belt, it really opens up the door for things. In other use cases, like in AT&T flagship stores, we were able to do some things with spatial worlds. So now you're getting into more of the networking of things, allowing for all the different devices to play together in a way that you really couldn't do before. all on the millimeter wave, which just, it basically gives you confidence, and then you keep going. So it really allows you to push and push, and I think now we're in a place where innovation can start happening because we really have it sort of figured out, and I know you both have some use cases out in the world too that follow that same path.
Yeah, perfect. And you make a good point with all of these devices that we're seeing. It really generates an unprecedented amount of data. Mm-hmm. And so from what we've seen is that really we're kind of at the peak of usability and connectivity power on mobile devices. And combining with what we're doing on our current technology with a lot of machine learning algorithms, we have to look for things like the cloud and 5G to make sure that we keep a high fidelity of our renderings, because it can do a lot more. The tech is there. Machine learning algorithms have, we've tested them out. We've kind of generated enough good use cases, but providing, a way forward with our technology, we definitely have to have that compute power behind it to see the results and benefit from it.
I would say, from my angle, in the entertainment space, the good that connectivity has a C in it, actually, because I have a cute little thing that when we get briefs that come in that are ill-defined, people don't really exactly know what they want to do. So the way that I query it is like, what are your 3 C's? What's the context, what's the character, and what's the community of the project? Those are 3 pillars that if you're hitting those 3, if you're working in digital and you have an answer to those 3 questions, then you're probably in the metaverse space, right? If you don't, then you're not. And 5G sits across all 3 of those quite nicely. And contextually, I kind of spoke about already with this buzzing, active space that's ready to be informed by your actions. The character is an important emotional connection. One of the things we did at Dallas at the same time
Mm-hmm.
that you were doing here was these giant cowboy players at architectural scale to capture sort of the true size of your passions, So actually revealing a bit of an emotional connection by volumetric streaming over a 5G network. Bringing an ability to engage with the character directly, whether the character is operating because of AI, but actually, having a real-time interaction with a character from at your home that you're talking to, and they're actually talking back to you, which we've done a couple of times, or live puppeting of your favorite character. We just recently did a project with the band Gorillaz, doing a live cocktail mixing feed. The world's first virtual band is like a perfect use case for figuring out how do you want to engage with them from the comfort of your home and actually ask them questions. And then the third C being community, which is making sure that there's a participatory element. We're seeing creator economies flourishing everywhere. In the project that we have out in the AT&T booth is GameView, and that encourages, expands fandom. So you're actually taking content out of the screen and enabling custom user controlled spatialized statistics. That's great for you. Eventually you want to show that to your friend and talk to them about what's exciting to you, what's the best play you saw, and share it that way. So 5G is happening with responsiveness, data bandwidth for volumetric streaming your characters, and cloud computing. We didn't even mention edge compute, but obviously, you can be in a VIP room and have a baseball player swinging a bat, and stream that, map all the kinematic joints of the player as they're doing it, so there's live data coming in, and be present with them as they're swinging a bat through, edge compute rendering, rendered on eyewear, and it's right there with you. So none of that works without 5G. So.
Yeah, it's really interesting, the work that our companies are collectively doing together. A lot of these experiences previously only existed in the home. Right? You needed a hardwired fiber connection or high-speed internet, and 4G's got a good connection, but the latency aspect of it, some of these truly immersive experiences that require a lot of bandwidth, it was hard to have that consistency of, I can put on my VR goggles at home, but I can't really, take them out into the world with me. And as these networks start to converge and the edge networks get built out that are required to kind of get that level of latency on a mobile network, your living room is now able to kind of go anywhere, which is cool.
Super amazing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll shake the old magic 8-ball a little bit for this last question here, and we'll start with you, Alicia. So, what's your prediction for kind of the next generation of these experiences? We've got a lot of enterprise-heavy experiences now, and as we get towards the consumer lens and that sort of area of B2B2C, where do you see things going 5-10 years from now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I know, with these new technologies coming out, like Stable Diffusion and even the Magic Leap 2, the piece that we're missing is the connectivity. And so I think before we can even go through what do we see in 10 plus years, we are going to need to figure out what those types of partnerships look like and how these devices can perform. A lot of the trainings that we do, we simply cannot run them unless we have a private 5G or we have something very powerful in the back end running and making sure that there is no latency because we do quite a bit of NLP and real-time updates and real-time interjections with hazards. And I do see this being more readily available and more integrated into our society, especially since it can be used literally anywhere. I definitely see training improving and really helping quality of life because they're not infecting their own types of previous training that they've seen before and really getting the benefit from that. And all the data that they can get after in the action after item reports is incredibly helpful for themselves and their team.
Cool. Sarah?
You want to take it? You want me to go?
I
can go. I can piggyback off that. I think, one of the things I'm most excited about that we've mentioned that really allow for things to really flourish is like cloud computing and rendering things on the edge. And in being able to do that and having the network out in the world, we'll be able to have content, not just in these specific locations, as you mentioned, sort of like it was in the home before. We're already out in the world, but we'll be able to do it in ways that I think will be really impactful to people and will be actually part of their normal day. So instead of going home, getting on the computer, or instead of going home and turning on your TV, you'll be able to sort of experience these things spatially in the world as you go, wherever you are. So whether it's volumetric or it's just really high fidelity 3D content, you mentioned even voice, like that sort of thing. We had a Bugs Bunny voice font, that you're allowed to have a conversation with him. That speed and that ultra low latency makes all those things possible. And so I think we'll see just content everywhere, and it'll be funny kind of in the beginning, and I think it'll be normalized later on and just help us all as we go about our daily lives, just as the internet does now.
Well, that natural language processing is super important, especially to have on a very high-powered connectivity, because any sort of delay and you break realism. And so I know, especially when you come with, you want to have a conversation with Bugs Bunny or a pro.
Isn't everybody?
You can't have that delay or that twitch. You
Right.
want it as realistic as possible. And the tech is there. Like I said, we've been developing and working on it so the algorithms can do it. Our delay is the connectivity and the speed and the interaction behind it.
So I promised you guys I had a gimmick for this question.
I know. I'm on the edge of my seat as well.
So I just asked OpenAI chatbot what the future holds. Because you can ask it to give you 10. I asked it what are 10 aspects of the future of real-time immersive entertainment.
That's how I answer all my questions at work, too.
This is OpenAI's Chat GPT. So I asked it, and it said, it's kind of right. It said enabling faster. No, that's a different question. Virtual and augmented reality technology to create more realistic and immersive experiences. Haptic technology for users to feel sensations. Motion tracking, I think we covered that. More advanced artificial intelligence. I think that's a biased answer from a chatbot. Integration of social media and other online platforms. Use of real-time data.
No,
Got that
love
one.
it.
Adoption of new technologies such as 5G and blockchain. I didn't prompt it with 5G, buddy. The use of natural language processing.
I know, we're
Check,
all
check.
over that.
Development of new content and storytelling formats. That's me. And increasing convergence of traditional entertainment media, such as television, film, and immersive experiences. But like, joking aside, I think that the
Is your Siri on, by the way? Kind of feels, that's like a little creepy.
yeah, right. I'm gonna get calls. I think that we need to think about two things. One is the next step, which is like, what do we want to do that's huge that's next? And I think 5G enabled stadium is a very good use case. I mentioned this to you guys before because it's like a micro metaverse. You have fans, you have B2B, you have B2B2C, you have vendors, you have teams, you have people who want to engage more. They have their phones out, they want to share, and there's a whole spatial element that could be mapped to precision and figure out exactly what you want to do, how you want to share, what tools you want to give the fans, and how to engage with them. So we can build something amazing in a stadium. And the 5G ultra wideband is there too. So that's the next step. But in terms of like 5-10 years, I think the other thing that I want to we all get to remind ourselves is that we should probably be building just. I always tell the same thing I tell my engineers: don't be right, be open. Right? Just build something that has a lot of capabilities. Don't prescribe what it's for, and the true use of metaverse or whatever will come out of it. We were chatting earlier. Fortnite wasn't designed to be Fortnite. It was designed to be something else. The internet, wasn't designed to be the way it is. So anything we design will be wrong. So just make it open and let the community hack at it. That's also why we shouldn't focus only on enterprise, because the consumers are the ones that are going to define what this is.
It seems like it's simultaneously revolutionary and evolutionary. You sort of have these, like, what are these big bets out there that are going to inspire people to think about things a little bit differently? They might not all work, but it's a good sort of tech demo for where things could go. But then, like, I was kind of joking with my wife before I flew out here. Like, I don't remember there ever being a moment in my life where I was like, okay, today I'm going to accept augmented reality in my life. Like, I've decided that I'm going to allow augmented reality. It's like, no, somebody sent me a Snapchat with the Walter White face on it. I was like, oh, damn, that's cool. I want the Snapchat filter too. And so there's that evolutionary aspect of it where, I've bored Pablo with my killer app idea, which anybody here is absolutely free to make.
It's a great idea.
Is AR glasses where you could do like YouTube picture-in-picture, because I love fly fishing, which is like a very tactile, if you're tying a fly, it's hard to watch it on YouTube and then do it at the same time. But if I could put on a pair of glasses where I get that like picture-in-picture view, and I imagine that there's like thousands of hobbies out there where people would do that. But that's not like, it's not anything totally crazy or revolutionary. It's just like, yeah, I'd love to be able to watch YouTube on glasses. Mm-hmm. And there's probably an app out there like that. Again, anybody's free to make that. Yeah. Free to make that one.
Just
if they
turn
want.
this into a hackathon.
Yeah.
AR not making app.
I think consumer acceptance is a big part of it, though, because we've changed in the industry that we're in, technology from paper and chalk and PowerPoint slides, and kind of pushed them all the way into augmented reality. And so there is a little bit of tension that we've seen on people adopting it. I still remember when Google Glass came out and everybody was against that. And so now I think the society is finally ready that tech is not necessarily evil, and it can be used as a very important tool to help save lives and protect our community. And so I think there is some transition of people being comfortable and seeing the use case. So I think they want to see, what is the value? Okay, I know what you're doing, I know what you're seeing and collecting. Where's the benefit? Is it really that much better than PowerPoint slide, or nothing wrong with those forms, or chalk, or how can they actually interact with it?
Yeah, that's great. Like the replacement for chalk, augmented reality.
Yes.
You heard it here
That's
first.
how it started.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Some people are still using it, so
I know.
nothing gets
I love chalk.
Chalk is
With
great.
Slate on the slate board.
Sometimes the old ways are the best.
Yeah, I like a combination. You know, AR allows you to do that. You're still, you know, doing what you do, fly fishing or cooking. I could use that in the kitchen.
Would it tell you if it's like
Dual
on
screen.
fire, though? You know, is
Yeah.
it burning?
Yes, yeah. I don't know if it'll make my cooking any better, but it'll make it easier for sure.
We wanted to do a
fun.
language learning app at one point too. You know, it's like the utility for learning is so ripe. The opportunity for expanding your ability to remember something, even if you spatialize it, or as you're cooking, maybe you can cook in French. You
Yeah.
know, and then you'll know, oof.
Well, that's a great way to learn. So part of learning is immersion. And so just hearing the words while you pick up, say it recognizes that you pick up an onion and you don't know what those could be in French or Spanish, or it would help to train you with that. I think people will start getting comfortable with it,
Yeah,
for sure.
What is onion in French?
that's a tough one on the spot. I was having this
you have half on
conversation
your
last
phone.
night actually about that exact thing. I have a hard time like reading information and then like remembering it, you know, but if I'm able to like experience it, which I think is why I was so interested in tech, because you're like just figuring it out as you go and learning it. But you mentioned that it brings in an opportunity for people to learn in different ways and remember things that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise, you know, because it uses a different part of your brain.
Yeah. Well, this is muscle memory. It's,
Yeah.
it's full immersion, and I know a lot of the training that we do, we put them in their actual building. So we don't generate a fake structure. It's their actual schools, their actual malls, and they go in there and they touch a physical handle, and you create that muscle memory about it. So if you've never been to a space before, you could train in it and then remember where things are. It's incredibly important, and does help with the adoption. But things that you can't do and can't render quickly, you have to have on a good system and a good power. So I think we're starting there with tech. We are definitely pushing it in the right direction. It's getting those early adopters and people comfortable that really grab it and like you said, start to hack on it and make cool stuff on the side.
Yeah,
Awesome.
exciting.
Well, Alicia, Pablo, Sarah, I really appreciate the three of you joining me on stage and making me look a lot cooler in front of the audience here. It always pays to have cool friends.
Thank you.
So really appreciate your time and the time of everybody here, and we'll see you all at the happy hour later.
Yeah,
Come do a demo.
Yeah?
thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.